welcome to Without Candle. Yeah,
Karlie and Carla.
Yeah, are your hosts for today.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I actually enjoy these chats.
Me too.
Because we don't sit still long enough
to actually
to have
about
real conversation. It's always just, down to business and then off we go on a merry little way.
Right.
I'm excited to hang out with you.
Yeah, me too. It's a good Monday for it. I feel like we don't have any real need for anything today, so we don't have to rush. We can just.
There's no sense of urgency for you.
Yeah, no.
So we're still putting out fires today, not until 5 o'clock. So
yeah,
now we've got some time to hang out and chill.
Yeah. So those of you that are watching the video of this, you may notice a different background. We thought we would utilize the whole shop and just every episode kind of do a different section. That way you had something else to look at. So today we have our body bar behind us where you can make custom blends of lotions and how we have the room sprays.
The balls for perfume.
Yeah, so you guys will have to come check that out or follow the Facebook page.
Absolutely. And the why on this is a completely different episode. Yeah. So bear with us until we get to that.
Yeah. Right. So today, I'm really excited to chat about this discussion that we get quite often because with having a brick and mortar, I feel like we get a lot of people that come in here that have no idea anything about this, or it's their first time coming in, or maybe they're not, they're just introduced to it and they're doing all this research and seeing all this other things on social media.
Right.
And they ask questions around, well, can I do this? Or is this practice okay for us? So we really wanted to deep dive into gatekeeping within spirituality, because I feel like it's a pretty heavy and important topic.
Absolutely. And one of the big parts of that is when you're not gatekeeping, I feel like there's a truer sense of community. I feel like there's a truer sense of appreciation. I feel like there's a truer sense of belonging. I feel like we have a lot of good, deep aha moments. Just because we are open to sharing, and then oftentimes we share, what we teach and what we believe in, what we practice. But we'll tell them, just because this is how we are, doesn't mean that's how you have to do things, right?
Yeah, it's all about what feels right to you, no matter what type of path you're on. This topic has been sitting with me for quite a while because just recently we had a good friend of ours come in here who has been coming in for quite a while, and she ended up having a pretty vulnerable conversation with us because she started asking questions. Yeah. And she ended up having that emotional release in here because she was like, thank you. You remember that conversation?
And of course I don't remember that conversation because there are so many. Yeah. You do have a lot. I know you have to be careful about saying
names. I don't want to do that
on here.
But it blew my mind because in conversations with her and her coming in, I had just automatically assumed she was already set in her practice.
That she was already well established.
Yes.
But even on that note, if she was, it doesn't mean she can't change her mind. Right. Or that you can't change your mind. And I think that's a big thing too in some of these conversations. Yeah. It's just because something sits right with you for 10 or 15 years, there may be something that just drops in the bucket one day and you're like, no, I'm good. Yeah. Right. So, and we have a lot of good conversations with all walks of life.
Yep.
Just last week, and we don't push any one religion and we don't dismiss any one religion. I want to say that too. So anywhere from people that practice Catholicism or that are Christians or Buddhists, we have conversations with so many. Yeah. And I learn a lot from too.
And that's a thing too within this topic is remembering that you are a forever student in spirituality because you're always constantly learning something, your ideology or your viewpoints have changed. Or something has just come to light that you never knew existed, right? And so when you have people on the internet showing you that you need all of these things, or it has to be this way because that's their practice, or dismissing your beliefs because it's not their beliefs, and making you feel like you aren't a witch or you aren't, however you want to title yourself if you choose to, isn't legit because it's not theirs. That's not what we That's not okay, right?
Not in my book. I mean, there may be some people, Karlie, watching this and be like, oh, it is okay. Because that's their practice.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes too.
There is close practices that we do have to be respectful
absolutely.
of. Majority of it is very personal and very intentional with yourself, bottom line.
And there are some things too, like when we teach Reiki, Karlie will teach the traditional ways of Usui, for example. But I also, in that same class, there's guidance on using your intuition. So if you're doing something by the book and you have that little whisper or that little tummy inkling that maybe you should do something different, and you don't honor that, you don't honor your intuition,
it's not.
Then are you harming the practice? Like, are you harming your practice? Are you honoring the greater good? Are you honoring the higher vibration? You know, that kind of thing.
I had recently just read like a little tidbit that said spirituality does have a price tag, and I feel like because it is so invaluable that if you're not honoring yourself within what spirit is guiding you to do, and even in those type of modalities and tools, yes, we are taught a certain way, but why can't we expand on it?
Right.
You know, and I feel like if we're not allowing ourselves to expand on that from spirit, then are we doing ourselves a disservice?
Right. Are you doing your practice justice? Your own spirituality, your own your own karmic debt. Are you honoring what you could be?
I just got goosebumps with that.
Man, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
So, and I do understand too that on some level that can be frustrating for clients and customers alike, and even our friends, because we do have some people, and we are going to cross more people or have more people cross our path that want that very structured ABC teaching, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's what you want, then you can still come to us and be like, okay, what is the traditional teaching of this? But then I'm always going to follow it up with like, you know, some intuitive guidance as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. So with all of that being said, we kind of want to define what gatekeeping in spirituality is, just a tad. If you come across people that are saying you have to do X, Y, and Z a certain way to be legit or be a real witch or be true to spirituality, gatekeeping, right? If you have to have an initiation into something, if you have to have a certificate in something to be legitimate within spirituality, well, that's also gatekeeping, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so even just information, just those people that won't have real conversations with you, just
That don't want to share.
Absolutely. Like, well, I studied this for 25 years. Like, you need to go do your own homework. And there are some situations where that is true. Like, someone has spent their whole life doing the things and practicing the things and reading the things and blah, blah, blah. However, if I spend 25 years doing something, I'm going to share. Because that's a lineage, right? That's how things continue.
And before I add to that, I do want to say too, people are telling you that you need candles, you need stones, you need any type of tool for any type of practice, and they're telling you have to buy stuff. That's also gatekeeping, because at the end of the day, this is all about attention. It's all about how spirit guides you and how you listen to spirit, period.
So I feel like one of the questions that annoys people when they don't get the answer that they want. You know how many times I'm asked in here with customers, new and old, what do I need?
Oh, I know.
And I just kind of chuckle. I'm like, you don't need anything. And that is really hard for people to hear. An honest response from two shop owners.
Yeah.
That you are the tool. You are the intention. You are the practice.
Yeah, the rest of it is just fluff and aesthetic. Like, and that's okay. That's okay to have. That's okay to buy the things. That's okay to get the certificate. But don't feel like you need it to be legitimate.
And then I also feel like that creates a situation where you spend so much time getting ready to do something. You spend so much time preparing a space or preparing and gathering
that you kind of miss the part.
You like kind of lose some time.
Yeah, you miss the opportunity. Like you were already in the mindset, and now like you're kind of mentally exhausted from setting everything up. You know, like It doesn't have to be.
And sometimes as time passes, like, so there's the excitement, and then maybe the intention softens if you can't do the thing that you're passionate about today.
Yeah.
Or if I have to wait 2 weeks on that thing to come in to do the practice for the thing that pissed me off,
Yeah.
you know, I think you lose some power.
No,
yeah.
you really do. So, what was the thing that I want to come back to?
I don't know.
It'll come back.
Is it on the list?
It was.
Okay.
And then, well, no, because you started saying something. I was like, if I don't see this thing, I'm going to forget. And then I forgot that thing.
Okay, so
this
maybe we'll come back to it
Yeah.
too.
We'll figure that out.
Cycle back through. You'll have an aha moment.
Yeah, that's okay. When you experience somebody, that's what it was. The 25 years of passing on knowledge. Yeah. So what I wanted to add to that was those people, and I feel like not all of them, but there is a handful, right? And that's why we're having this conversation, is the people that have dedicated their lives to do the research on their own typically are the ones that have been around for decades, right? Yeah. When resources were not available.
Right.
When this was something that was a hushed thing, and now where it is becoming a little less taboo, more metaphysical shops are popping up. You see it on mainstream media a lot more. More people are getting introduced to this type of stuff.
One of the ways to learn was to do it yourself. Yeah.
And so I can understand to a point the frustration that that generation of spiritual practitioners have with people coming and asking questions, because in those group are the people that just want to be handed all of the information.
Absolutely. Right? What equity does mean something.
Yes. So I get it on both sides. However, when you start belittling and completely refusing to offer any type of information, no matter what path it is, that's a problem. But then also, on the other side, when you just wanted to be handed all the things, not do genuine research, genuine intention setting, deep dive into yourself, because this is also a healing journey, whether you want to accept that or not. That may be a whole other topic and conversation. But when you refuse to put in the work to learn and get to where you want to be, then that's also a problem.
Absolutely. And so on that same note, like something that came to mind, I don't think there's much more frustrating than someone coming in and asking questions. And like as soon as I share my viewpoints or my opinions or my practice and teachings with them, they're like, but on TikTok I saw. Oh, and I'm like, go fuck yourself. Then why are you asking me? Like if TikTok is your source, then that's fine. But don't. Yeah.
Like you don't if you are willing to use a resource and that sparks interest, that sparks questions, and you come and ask other resources, don't diminish our experience. Yeah. Because that's another thing you have to realize, and this is everyone's experience, just like everyone's path and everyone's practice. It's completely different.
There's an intention attached to that as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when you experience gatekeeping, I think touching on how harmful that is important, right?
Yeah.
So what are some key things that you think are harmful for people if they encounter somebody that is gatekeeping?
You know, you had talked a little bit about belittling and just feeling like you're not enough, for lack of better words. But also, you know, there's some people in the community that truly do have a passion for it, but they may not have financial resources to do all the things or have all the things. And I think it's very important that we teach and that we honor our practices with acceptance.
Well, how many people come in here or don't come in here that watch from afar through our Facebook and our lives and say, you know, I wish I could come in more, I just don't have the funds. Yeah. And we preach constantly that this is a place for you to be.
Absolutely.
We just happen to go.
Yeah.
You know, and we offer some of the classes that are completely free to attend, donation based if they can, but also just having the space up there when it's not utilized.
The growing library.
Yeah, that's nice.
A lot of times those are my favorites. I know Carly's got some favorites back there too, but there'll be something that I'll come across like, oh, like I want this, right? So some of the shop copies are
duplicate
my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, and if I think they're good enough to be a source, then I hope you get to enjoy them too.
Yeah. So dismantling that around
The clickiness.
The clickiness, and like, yeah, first and foremost, we are a store, right? You know, yeah, we sell things.
Like, we do have to pay the bills.
But we are a community above everything. And that's the biggest thing, is reminding people that you don't have to financially buy anything to be part of a community.
Absolutely.
So that's a huge thing. I think that's one of the biggest things that is harmful with the gatekeeping.
But oftentimes too, like, sometimes people that are actually searching for a path or a belief or a community, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, they've already been through something harmful. They're already going through something difficult. I had better words just moments ago. I promise I did. But oftentimes in my own little head in these conversations, I take little side quests.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to ever push someone farther into the shadows or push someone farther into the closet. Right.
That's the whole thing. If we're not allowing people to be authentic here, how can they be authentic outside?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think that plays into the next harmful topic, is alienation.
Oh, yeah.
Alienating people to believe that they aren't legit, aren't authentic, you know, whatever the isn't is, right, is a problem.
Yeah.
Because without spirituality, without your practice, without something that feels authentic to you, that's a missing part of your identity.
Yeah.
And that's not okay for you to feel like you can't be authentic.
I mean, how many of us grew up like that?
All of us.
Like,
I want to say.
Goodness, do you remember the first time you ever heard, saw, dreamt, felt, smelt something that wasn't physically there?
Yeah.
And the adults are like, it's nothing.
Just ignore
you're
that.
fine.
Yeah.
It's nothing there. You're
Yeah.
fine. You know, yeah, I definitely don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just bullshit. No, it really is.
I've seen a couple kids come through here. Their parents would finally bring them in after being challenged with, is this an okay thing to say? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a medical practitioner of any kind. There you go. So that they've come in battling like mental illness to where the child thought they were hearing things. And I guess the parent, you know, thought I was going to tell the child that they're not hearing things. Yeah. And instead I look at the parent, I'm like, well, what if they are?
Yeah.
So, like, what if they are hearing things?
So what if they are experiencing that? Just because you are as an individual doesn't mean that they aren't as an individual, no matter their age either.
Oh, absolutely. From little bitty, man, there's some kids in my life that made me realize that reincarnation was probably more legit than not, right? Those kind of things. So, but yeah, and if we ever, just talk to us, right? Yeah. Just talk to us.
Yeah. And one thing that I am experiencing with a client is feeling like they're wasting our time. That's another big one. Because if you are authentically showing up for yourself and progressing in your practice, I will equally show up and listen and help any way I can, as long as you are also. That's a big thing.
Being a true mentor, you know, and a lot of that will also come by just being an example. Yeah. Right. So you don't have to learn just by having conversations just like this. You may cross, you know, the store's threshold and come in, and we may already be talking to someone else about something. You can learn just by being in the space.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of understand there's a catch-22 to what Karlie just said. Yeah. Because we do have people that want to just be entertained 24/7. And we're not here for that, right? We're not here for your entertainment.
And that's why I said, if you are truly showing up for your practice and in your journey, we will equally show up. But
there's other ways to give back, right? Like, it doesn't just have to be financial. So,
I mean, we have some people that there's just an energy exchange because we know wholeheartedly they need something.
Right, absolutely.
And sometimes with finances, right? We don't want to gatekeep, and we know that within moderation, obviously. But yeah, those are some of the top harmful things that I feel like people that do gatekeep may not even take into consideration.
So what about, this is a different episode, you share that with you too. So in the past, we've had, yes, some people come in with this know-it-all mentality. and that our way is the only way. And they overshadow, well, they try to overshadow the whole space with their beliefs and their teaching. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of tricky. You gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention, because if someone is doing that, then they're only wanting to teach you their way, or ideology.
Yeah. Right. And that's a problem. Yeah. And this might be a little extreme of a comment to that. Almost very culty.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost very culty. Yeah. And we're not about that. Yeah. We're not about that. So, some of the myths within gatekeeping, right? That you need to be all of the things to be spiritual, right? You don't have to be. I know, like, you don't have to be shit to be spiritual.
What do you mean by that? Like, you don't have to have any titles. You don't have to have any certificates. You don't have to have years in service, years in practice.
You don't even have to have a specific path.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to have.
There's a name for that, Karlie. For not choosing a path, or for choosing all the paths. Right? Like omnious or eclectic, like those kind of things. Like, those are incorporated as well. Okay, go ahead, scroll.
No, that was
side quest. Overseeing, cultivating.
Yeah. Need to be all the things.
You don't need to be anything.
You don't. That's what. Yes. So one thing that I think people forget is that there is spirituality in all religion, but there doesn't have to be religion in all spirituality.
100%.
And that is something that I teach when I do my one-on-one classes with people that are entering into spirituality. Is
there's a good chance
you just have you just have to have a connection to something. Now you got to figure out what that something is. That's it. And whether that is just a connection within yourself and your divine and your spirit, or maybe that's a connection with, Mother Gaia or Mother Earth, or however you see that deity, or a specific path.
God of your understanding.
Any God or goddess of your understanding. All of that. So that's one myth, right? Is you don't have to have a title. You don't have to be all things to be spiritual. The other thing is, well, actually, no, that is the myth. That is the only myth, right? Yeah. So, do you have anything you want to share on, like, a personal, like, story within that? Within, like, how you've experienced things? Or, like, when you first started?
Well, I think a lot of us start not knowing that the things are a thing. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not saying riddles. But, like, if you...
What are you?
but maybe, in my gatekeeping. Yeah. But, so, like, for example, Karlie, do you remember the first time maybe you heard your guides? That you didn't know that they were guides?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like they're yelling at me.
Because you don't listen.
I know.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. But, so, like, before you knew that was a thing, I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. I think we're just excited.
Shit. So, I had asked...
Story about not being things, right? Like, you don't have to be anything to be spiritual. Right?
Yeah. So, like what's a personal story you have with that?
Okay, so that's where I was going with that. Like, at an early age, having these gifts, not knowing that they have names. Yeah. Right? So in that sense, I was just a child and just a student in life. So on that note, and when we say you don't have to be anything, we truly are. Like, that's not the meaning. We're meaning that you don't have to have any specific titles or degrees or that kind of stuff. But in that sense, as a child and a student, I had no other pre-qualifications, right? Yeah. That doesn't mean that those experiences weren't important.
Right.
Does that help?
Or how you believe in those things, or believed in how you felt about things. That's when you were still deep in the church. So you still felt spirituality, but just on a different level then than you do now.
I understand. It didn't sit right with me. Nothing about the church to sit right with me.
No, I agree with that.
Not that I didn't love the people in the church, because a lot of them were family. Not that you have to love all your family. There's a lot of side quests today. But it was just different. So I could see the good, the spiritual side of things, and just, like, wandering the woods, playing on the farm, playing in the creek and playing in the water. But at that time, I didn't realize it was anything spiritual. Okay. It was just being a child.
Yeah. And now looking back at that, you're like, oh, wow, my practice is deeply rooted.
Oh, absolutely. Out of the gate. Yeah. Okay. So, what about you? Do you have any aha moments of growing into all this that you're like, oh, really?
Honestly, it goes back to the story of finding out that Daniel and his family are Norse pagan. And because that is when I started my spiritual journey and started figuring out what paganism was, like all that, finding a path that I really resonated with and was excitingly sharing that with my husband. And then the aha moment of that was his childhood. That's how they grew up. And like that was their religion. And not knowing that for the first 6 years of our marriage.
Do you think he realized that that was their religion?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, they were very open about it. When I talked to his parents, they told me that like they would do ritual and things like that. So it was very like open within them. And then they walked away for a while, and that's okay.
Life, right?
Yeah, and like the military and moving and all that things for them. So it actually wasn't until it came to light that that is what I resonated with, that they all actually started getting back into their practice. So that was kind of like the aha moment of, hey, this is the real deal type stuff, not just feeling like, am I picking this path because I'm picking this path? You know what I mean?
Did you ever feel like all of this or any of this was make believe?
When I was a kid, yeah. Especially because that's when we were being toted around to all these different denominations within Christianity and like learning all the different paths of Christianity. That I was like, oh, we're just playing. Like we're just playing. Like I was always the kid that would be out in nature and find all the things. You know, I was like, I don't know what you would call it. I was a collector.
Like you were a hunter gatherer.
Yeah. I was always like all the things.
Like keeper of the trinket.
Yeah. Okay. All of the things when I was a kid. And I thought I was just playing, and now I'm like, oh no, I like that all. I collect everything.
You probably listened better as a child to your guys than you did as an adult.
Probably. You're not wrong. I'm stubborn as an adult. So
well, the things we think we don't get in the way sometimes.
Yeah. So moving from gatekeeping, right? How can we help people build their own practice without permission of all this other stuff? What do you think?
So getting past that you need shit is the first one. And then I do have some good resources that I'll offer individuals, you know, books and that kind of stuff. And then just time or space.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is starting with what you already have and what you already know and figuring out from there what resonates with you the best.
The curiosities.
Yes. And then also remembering that your own intuition is such a legit source because your body and your spirit already knows what is right for you. And
100%.
Listen to those cues because they're going to tell you that. Listen to that.
So oftentimes after people hear, I'm going to take this candy out now. Pick it up for those listening. Her face is so funny. Okay. I mean, that make it edit out anyway. I just thought maybe you guys could hear the
who knows?
candy sound. So, the curiosities came to mind, right? Of like letting people be curious and letting people touch, you know? So a lot of times when the family comes in, the first thing you'll hear an adult say is like, yeah, don't touch anything.
Yeah.
And I'll quietly go over to the family and I'll be like, actually, you know, as long as they're respectful, it's okay. They can touch all the things. Yeah. Right? Like, that's how you learn.
I love saying that to people that are just learning about stones. If they're like, well, what stone do I need? It's like, I don't know. Your body will tell you. Pick it up. You touch all of them.
Touch all of them and then dig to see why it sat with you.
Yeah. Go back to the one that your intuition is telling you to go back to. And same, like, you just
people love that. People love just like,
are you sure?
Yeah.
Just be careful. But yes, you know. Some of those
programmed.
Fears.
Oh yeah. It wants to be but we were so programmed not to touch things, you know.
And I feel like that's one of your senses. That's how you connect to things. You're not going to connect to things if you're not using your senses.
I prefer you not lick things in the store, but touch whatever you want to. So does that help answer your question about how we honor the aspect of not gatekeeping?
And I think also too, when you find things, especially things that other people are doing, like make it your own, honey. Because how I set up my altar is not how you're going to set up your altar because it doesn't resonate with you.
Well, it may not just be, you know, I may like the idea of how you set up your altar, but time could be an issue, space could be an issue.
You may not like the same stones that I do.
Our kids could be an issue. Like anything can be an issue, right? Do what you can with what you have. And I think that's coming up too. I may have jumped ahead a little bit, but
no. That goes along the same thing. So without comparison too is a huge one within gatekeeping.
So without comparing yourself to others, and without people.
Yes.
Kind of like the overshadowing situation we were just talking about.
Overshadowing. And then also the difference between learning from others and feeling like you have to be them is a huge one too. So you can take tiny tidbits from anybody you learn from.
Absolutely.
And make it your own. Use that in your identity. Use that in your practice, but don't feel like you have to be a carbon copy of your mentor, of the person you.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah.
Don't copy me.
No.
I mean, in a fun way, and
legitimately.
That came out more shitty than it was supposed to, but I don't want anyone to try to live up to anyone else's expectations.
Yeah, no,
right.
Because
I'm not doing that.
No, and how I feel in my practice doesn't mean that's how you're gonna feel in your practice, or it's just anything. Just anything. Don't feel like you have to compare yourself to be legitimate.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all of the fluff. You don't have to have all of the tools. You don't have to worship one specific deity. You don't have to, and that's okay. So how would you, if someone was to walk through the door right now and ask you how to find or create a space for themselves that also empowered them but included them, what do you think?
So that would be hard because, and this is gonna be a little off at first. I always tell them to sit down.
Okay.
Just sit down right where you are. Close your eyes. Take a few nice big deep breaths. From there you can literally take yourself anywhere. Yeah. Be with anything and anyone and have anything. When you use your mind's eye and your intuition in a meditative state, there is nothing off limits.
No. How would you?
So I feel like you were asking for a physical thing.
So yes and no, because I do really love that answer. But I really want to touch on, like, if somebody is getting into this path, right, and they are going to different metaphysical places or even different metaphysical events, like vendor events, things like that, what are some things that you would suggest to that person to be on the lookout for, whether they are avoiding or whether they are looking for something that is okay? Does that make sense?
So the conversation is
huge. Verbiage.
Yeah. Well, and because we're teaching, you don't have to have the things, right? And so if I'm teaching someone how to shop for the things, am I still teaching that you don't have to have the things?
Yeah.
Conversation and connections. That's what I would say. How to find yourself first and foremost, without any physical need to be in one place. Yeah. Right. So like I can find home. This is probably a different topic as well. So I can find that home and that sense of belonging anywhere. Right.
Yeah.
So like, there's oftentimes people come in here like it just feels good. Like it just feels like home.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that's because of the place.
Yeah.
It's the space.
Yeah.
And that's really tricky too.
That way.
Absolutely. And the conversation, the connection. So when you're traveling, look for those conversations that just feel warm, right? That just feel good and true and honor.
For me, that's what I do, because Daniel and I travel a lot. And one of our favorite things to do when we do travel is we go and visit different metaphysical stores. And I always can tell right off the bat, like as soon as I step a foot or two in the door, what the energy is like. And and 9 times out of 10, this is true. If I feel like the energy is off, the person working is trying to push stuff off.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I think that's also a difference, too. Like, yes, Karlie and I are shop owners, but we're not pushy people. And we have stake in the business, too. So we're not just employees. Like, I don't just work for, like, this is us. I don't know how to explain that better.
Yeah.
So it's different than going to, like, a chain or a place that's
we're not working for somebody where it is our job to push stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are working for ourselves in the sense of offering all of the things for people and being a resource regardless of that is for them.
Like there's no quota. There's no
we don't have to push sales because people know that they can either come here to buy something, that they can come here for energy work, that they can come here just to be. We know that whatever happens the day that we are open is how it is meant to be. And we don't have to push that stuff. people are going to
early on. That was hard though too, because we have had people be not the face, because that's always us, but a face, a person in the shop, and they were not always kind. No, if you're seeing this anywhere from 2 years ago back, know that things change and shifts too. It truly is different. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just maybe the nannies of the shop. I don't know. Like, we just take care of the shop and the space and the community. So not being pushy, but feeling like you're home. Yeah. Yeah.
So watch out for that. Verbiage is a huge one. And then also your own verbiage plays a key in gatekeeping as well. So once you get to a point on people are trying to come to you for things, right? Yes. Being mindful and intentional with your own language around that stuff, I think is huge.
I know that there's people out there more seasoned and more practiced than both of us.
Absolutely. And there always will be.
Absolutely. And there should be, right? Mm-hmm. I do know that sometimes in those conversations, I will just be like, hey, I may not be verbalizing this properly, right? There could be a different way I can say that. And nothing I say is meant to be offensive. Mm-hmm. So if I need to tweak something, or if you need to educate me on something proper, then please do so.
Oh, right? Yeah. We are always pretty mindful about being as transparent as we can be with stuff like that in a conversation, because we might just be having an off day and our brain is only working at like 50% capacity and we're just 9 times up.
I'm just kidding.
Yep. But like right now, the words flew out of my
I feel like, in conversation, we know that there's so many other conversations to be had around this topic. And I feel like I didn't do you a whole lot of justice answering that question, because I went to a time and space kind of thing versus a time and place kind of thing.
No, it's so valid.
But trust me, conversation and connection above physical location and physical needs. Items, there's another word for that, Karlie?
Like people setting attention on the item?
No, I don't know. So you don't need anything materialistic. Yeah. So specific places and materialistic items that you think you may need. Don't hold fast to those things.
Yeah. And also too, you are a collector of sorts, and you do acquire tools. Don't feel you have to hold on to those tools because it's within a specific practice. If it's no longer resonating with you, you can get rid of it, just like you could change your direction. Changing your mind is valid. Totally valid.
So if it's not serving you at that moment, it may be that that there's someone else that could, right? Whether you really know or you just kind of know.
Yeah.
Well, that should bring.
So before we close, do you have anything else you want to add? Deep breath. Okay.
I mean, there's so much.
I know. And that's why we have a podcast, so we can share. So for today, I really do want to go back to, because I really liked this quote. My little encouragement for you is that connection to spirit does not have a price tag. So we invite you to reflect on where you're at in your journey. We invite you to reflect on different paths, maybe just for the sake of learning something new today. We invite you to leave us a message or a comment and share your experiences or share some insight. Or even a thought that you have of this episode. I would love to hear it. I'm sure you do.
Absolutely. And I do have another random-ish thought. And I've said this to a couple people recently, but it is a fairly new concept. May you dream about it, right? So may you daydream about it. May you see it, in your nighttime dreams. That's a whole different. Like that. May you dream about it. So maybe I don't have the answers. Maybe Karlie doesn't have the answers. That hit home to me. May you dream about it. So maybe we can put that on a shirt somewhere or somewhere on the wall, right? Yeah. But if you can't get the information that you need, maybe you dream about it. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that created emotion. That's weird. Yeah. That's weird, though. That's it differently for some reason.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I thought this was definitely a topic that needed
Did we get through all the things?
We did.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
Yay. So, Karlie, keeping us on track, right?
So, join us next week for our next topic. Who knows what that'll be at this point, but we are excited. And thank you for encouraging us and supporting us and all of the things.
And your patience.
And your patience. So
sometimes tolerance.
Yes.
Yeah, all the things, right?
Okay. Well, have a great day. Thank you for listening to Without a Candle, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you when we see you. Bye.